Like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. You're watching Pretty Real with Ceci. Because, obviously we've talked, before about just domestic violence stuff that's been going on. I feel like Terre Haute's been like hit hard lately. And, I have a lot of women clients,
Mhm.
so they're near and dear to my heart.
Right.
And, with the nature of my business, they sit here and numb for hours.
Mhm.
And so we talk about everything.
Mhm.
And so, there's a lot more going on behind closed doors with a lot of my clients that people never know.
Mhm.
And then that stuff happens where you have these public situations.
Right.
And, we're talking a lot lately here about, how do I know if I have a client who's kind of venting to me and, we talk about each other's personal lives? What are some things? I know you're not an expert,
Mhm.
and I know this is not something you like went to school for, but you've been doing this for how long?
I've been sheriff's office 23 years now.
23
Yeah.
years. Are you from Terre Haute?
Yep, lived here all my life.
I thought so.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, you probably went straight into it after school.
I did. So, I graduated from South in
Yeah.
1998, and
Oh,
then
man.
yeah. So I'm
South.
45 now. So I'm a South Sider.
That's okay.
And then I went to ISU, and I was started majoring in accounting, switched to criminology. I didn't finish my degree. I went back later in life and finished my degree. It was something I wanted to complete to
Yeah.
finish. But yeah, so I started working at the sheriff's office in July of 2002 as a correctional officer. I did that for about a year and 10 months, year
Yeah.
and 2 years. And then I became a deputy sheriff. So in 2004, May of 2004, I became a deputy sheriff. And I don't know if you want me to go into all that,
No,
but
please. I want to know.
I,
Yeah.
so starting in 2004, I was hired. You have to go to the academy, go through all your training. And over the last, from 2004 to 2019, I worked all three patrol shifts: midnight shift, day shift, evening shift on patrol. And most of that time was midnight shift patrol, which I actually really enjoyed. I don't think I want to go back to it now necessarily, but and I also spent time as a case detective. I also spent time as a crime scene investigator.
Wow.
So then in 2019, I became chief of operations under Sheriff Plassey, and then I've been the sheriff now for since August of last year when I was caucused in. So I've done a little bit of most things at the sheriff's office throughout my career. So obviously, I've experienced things in terms of domestic violence, and of course, every other call that we respond to on the patrol side and on the detective side.
Right. So you do have plenty of background to be able to speak a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and I have, personal history as well,
Yeah.
so I can, I have my personal experiences and then my work experiences.
Yeah. I did not know any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And I know we've, talked before about kind of growing up with a rough home life
yeah,
and seeing kind of your parents go through what they went through and the way that your dad was with you guys. I mean, it probably does put a little bit more passion in this role for
it
you.
it does, and I think I talked previously, but it's may sound odd, but I lived in a very chaotic home environment growing up. My biological father, was extremely abusive, physically, emotionally, verbally, primarily to my mom.
Do you have siblings?
I have one sister that's
Yeah.
older. She's 4 years older than me. So my parents got divorced when I was 13. So I mean, I remember and I witnessed a lot. My sister remembers a little more than I do because again, she's 3 or 4 years older than me. So it was very traumatic growing up. Throughout my entire childhood, I can remember. That's not to say we didn't have good moments or good
Oh,
times,
sure.
good memories as well. But a lot of that is scarred from what we witnessed, what we observed, what we lived through. My sister and myself and my mom. So my sister and I, we would call the police when we were, 10, 8, 10, 12, whatever. And they'd come to the home, and my dad never got arrested. And laws were different back then, obviously. We're talking, mid, late 80s, very early 90s. So I was just drawn to law enforcement. I did
Yeah.
have a couple family members who in law enforcement in Florida, not here in
Yeah.
Indiana. So I was kind of looked up to them as well. There were a couple of my uncles. So when they come back and, I'd always want to hear their stories when they came back to visit in town. Um, but yeah, so I never understood why my dad wouldn't go to jail for what he did, at that young age, and sometimes I think a
In
kid
that
might get mad.
situation, did you feel like these guys aren't gonna do anything? Like, do they
I did.
discourage you from, like, even calling?
Eh I think it I don't wanna speak for my sister necessarily, but I think it did a little more for her. Maybe I think she maybe had a better understanding because again, she was a little bit older than me. For me, I kinda I don't know if I didn't wanna call, but for me, I just thought, why didn't they do something? Why is he still here? Why did he leave and then
It was probably
comes back
worse
the next
after they
day?
left too.
Without a doubt, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and he would sometimes he would leave, that night, but, he'd be back, a day later, a week later, whatever it might be, so, um, it was hard for me to wrap my head around at a young, being a 10 or 12-year-old. I see things much differently now, and I have a much more rounded understanding
Right.
of domestic violence and kind of what goes into it and just all the dynamics that fit into the domestic violence situation.
I feel like it's so much more, maybe it's social media or maybe it's the fact that we have some more access,
Mhm.
but I just feel like it's so much more prevalent.
Yeah.
And I feel like in my personal life, I feel as our life got more stressful,
Mhm.
things just got more tense
Right.
and it just became more, I feel like a lot, we're at the age, because I'm 43,
Okay.
where like you're at a place in your life where you're like, okay, jobs are stressful, kids are stressful, things are stressful. And I feel like people are just not handling it well.
Mhm.
Plus, you add addictions, things like that that make it even worse. But like with some of the stuff that's been happening lately, some of these public murder suicide situations that have been happening, I mean, what can we as a community? I want to focus on what I can do for my clients, but what we as a community might be able to do you feel like it's maybe just doing a better job educating our children from the start of like being, I mean, I just don't even know where to really start
Yeah.
for like how we could help this not happen so much anymore, especially in such a smaller town.
Yeah. The first thing that I think about, and this is relating back to my experiences, that's what we're doing right now
Yeah,
is talking about it,
talking
not being
about it.
afraid to talk about it. And even some of my own family members, it was like, don't
Yeah,
talk about it, shove it under the rug.
yeah,
Nobody needs to know. So, and I think times have changed over the years. We're talking 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and even, go back six. I mean, domestic violence just didn't start in
right,
1987. So, but I think it was that forbidden, almost like divorce was many,
right,
many years ago. Like, don't talk about it. It doesn't exist if you don't talk about it. So I think that's for me. That's the number one thing. Like, don't be afraid to talk about it. Like I'm sitting here with you right now, and I'm not afraid. I'm an open book. I think in terms of me and who I am and where I've come from, it's made me who I am, good or bad. And it's like my experiences. I look at my experiences with my father, and I've taken that he taught me how not to be a dad, how not to be a spouse. Obviously, sometimes people go the opposite direction and they follow in those footsteps. But I think that's the number one thing. Don't be afraid to talk about it as a community, as community leaders, whether you're the sheriff or whoever you are, and just be open about it, and be willing to listen.
right,
Because oftentimes people just want to kind of say what they want to say, but they're not really paying attention to what's going on around them, whether it be a family member or a friend. So just have your ears open,
right,
pay attention to what's going on. What you talked about earlier, maybe with people coming in here or whatever, but um, just be aware and willing to listen to someone because that sometimes that means the world. Just that
right.
someone knows they have someone that they can talk to.
So for for me, with my clients, obviously, we learn each other over the time that we're sitting together, but also a lot of my clients have been seeing me for 7, 8 years.
Mhm.
So I learn more about their personalities and things like that and dynamics at home. Um, how do you think that I could help see like the red flags?
Mhm.
Like, what are some of the red flags that I could look for with some of my clients to be like, I feel like you need help. I
Mhm.
feel like how do I say that to someone or what signs am I looking for that might give off some sure tell signs?
Mhm.
Obviously, I know we kind of say, well, bruises more often or
Mhm.
things like that,
Yeah.
or like physical or just almost personality changes that happen in their demeanor. Is there anything that we could kind of be looking for just, with our friends
Mhm.
or coworkers that, we could maybe say, hey, you don't have to tell me, but here's my address if you
Yeah.
ever need it
Yeah.
or whatever. What am I kind of looking for?
Yeah. So I think, and just go back to the community thing real briefly, but I think too is just that we all take it seriously.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes people look at domestic violence and it's like if it doesn't affect them directly, it's like it's just not there.
Yeah.
So whether it be law enforcement, whether it be again friend and family member, whether it be the judicial system, prosecutors, judges, that everyone takes it seriously. But as far as the red flags go, and obviously you said it, but the visible marks, that's kind of the clear cut. But when you're in conversations with someone, it's something I've noticed, and this is not, I'm not saying this is from research, but something I've noticed is the shyness. Like people just kind of seem like they're um, keeping to themselves, like they're just
Hmm.
quiet, and people that are shy. I'm not saying that they're domestic
Sure.
violence victims. That's not, it's not across the board by all means. Again, that's just personal experiences. And I think I was that way too at a point in my life, not so much now because I've dealt with it, but that, you're just kind of, you feel like, "Hey, I just want to keep to myself."
Yeah.
I think if you're in conversation with someone and they're, whether it be a male or a female, but if they're talking about things that their significant others demeaning them, belittling them, alienating them, not wanting them to be with friends or
Yeah.
go here or go there or a girls trip or whatever it might be, um, things of that nature.
I think we
And
forget that it's not always physical.
absolutely, yes,
I mean, and that
absolutely,
I think that's where it starts, is
yes,
there is so much more mental and verbal
yeah,
and emotional that turns into could or could
yeah.
not turn into physical.
And the physical violence, I mean, obviously it's bad and
Yeah.
it can be the worst if you take someone's life. But oftentimes the emotional, the mental abuse can be longer lasting.
Oh, yeah.
The scars, the bruises, they go away. And no one
Absolutely.
wants to be hit or slapped or spit on or what have you. But that emotional abuse, that mental abuse, it can stay with you for the rest of your life.
Right. I feel too that it's hard for, like, for my daughter Sloan,
Mm,
she's 15, and I remember that there was a time where when she was in school, there was a classmate that she just felt she would say to me all the time, "I don't know, mom, like, I just feel like something's going on at home," and it made her really nervous. And she almost was scared to tell a teacher because she didn't want to make things worse
hmm
on the kid at
Yeah,
home. And it's like, that is such a messy dynamic, to
yeah,
think about. You're almost going to make it worse. And like you talked about, like getting after they leave, things could be so much worse
yes.
for the kid or the wife or whatever.
I think that I agree with what you're saying. I think that uh, every path has its pain. Um, so do your best, even though it may be difficult in the moment, to choose the path that's right.
Right.
And
Oh, I
so
love that.
if you're in that situation where, and again, I've been there, do you tell someone, do you not tell someone? Because there's going to be pain if I do because of what may happen. But if I don't talk about it, if I don't tell anybody that I'm dealing with the pain or my mom's dealing with the pain or my sister's dealing with the pain because of the abuse that's going to continue. So it may seem, and it does seem in the moment like I can't do this and I can't tell anyone because it's going to get worse or what have you. It's that choice you have to make. And I think again, this is just my personal experience, but there's always the fear too of the abuser. And again, I realize it can be men and women, but for my personal experience, it was my father towards my mom. But you have the woman; they may be afraid that maybe it's a financial situation.
Right.
They can't survive because they're the husband's
Breadwinner.
the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Maybe it's threatening, they're intimidating. If you leave, I'm going to take the kids. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to burn the house down. There's many reasons why they again going back to they belittle their significant other. They tell them nobody's going to want you. You're fat, you're ugly.
Hmm.
People don't like you. So they get to the point where, and that's something that I battled with coworkers years ago. And I think it's not people have kind of moved from that a little somewhat, but people that haven't lived through it don't understand because the question is always, why didn't they leave?
Yeah.
It's not that easy. It's not just you pack up your bags and just leave because they've beat the woman down so much, maybe not physically,
Right.
but emotionally, mentally, that they feel like I'm nobody. Nobody wants me. Nobody's going to take me. Who am I without this person? And again, maybe it's the fear factor that they've been told if you leave, I'm killing you. I'm taking, like I said, I'm taking the kids, whatever it might be. I'm taking the house. So there's so many manipulation factors that an abuser utilizes that keep the other person in the relationship longer than they probably want to be, and that's difficult, and that's really difficult for people to understand if they haven't live through it themselves.
live through it. Exactly. I think teaching our kids too to have an EQ as well as an IQ on
Mhm,
it, because really, I think people don't give each other enough grace.
mhm,
And I think that's the story that I keep hearing lately, especially on social media, is, well, this has been happening for so long. Why, she should have left earlier,
right.
or, whatever. Like, I feel like people have no idea until they actually go through it themselves. There is such a hold on you. And I find that even with a lot of my friends and my clients that I see every day, even though they might be out of that actual physical relationship or away from that parent that was abusive or whatever, you almost have a weird, messy, like, longing for a healthy relationship with that person.
Mhm,
It's almost like you wish that they would have been what you wanted them to be.
mhm.
So it's hard to detach yourself.
And I think you're hitting that on the head. I think oftentimes too in domestic violence relationships, I think initially the relationship is like full blown, grandiose, flowers and
Love
dinners and
bombing.
yep, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
that's the term. And then a year goes by that
Hmm.
maybe domestic violence doesn't really take place, maybe 6 months, maybe a couple years, whatever it might be. My mom, it wasn't, day one.
Yeah.
But then they think back to, oh, I remember what it was 2 years ago or 8 years
Maybe
ago.
this is a
Maybe,
phase.
yes, they
Yes.
get back to that and they remember that, maybe we can get back there. And more often than not, it doesn't happen that way.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, even for, like, my situation, I you always wish that you always think about, like, the good times, or
Hmm.
like how you wish it could be, or how it was at one point of
Hmm.
the relationship.
Yeah.
But it's sad too, because I feel like you guys are kind of misstrued in some of these situations as, well, the cops didn't do anything, the sheriffs didn't do anything, the whatever. But, like, you're doing all you guys
Hmm.
can. And I think that we as a community need to be reminded of your role
Sure.
versus, a judge or whatever may happen behind the legal system, that it's out of your hands a
Yeah.
lot. And I think you guys are kind of blamed for certain things that you have nothing to do with,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And you're right. And yeah, I think overwhelmingly, there's bad seeds in every profession. It doesn't matter what you do, law enforcement included. But I think overwhelmingly, we have an incredible group of men and women who work for the sheriff's office, work for other local agencies in our area and across the country for that matter, who are just trying to do the job and do it the
Right.
right way. But yeah, oftentimes they respond to these calls, and from the letter of the law, maybe they can't make an arrest. Maybe they give someone some advice, or to seek this resource coda or whatever it might be, and it does require that personal accountability, that person to be willing at that point in time to make that next step, that phone call, that to reach out, whatever it is. But yeah, I think overwhelmingly the officers or the deputies are, they're doing the best they can, and they're dealing with situations as they arise. That's not to say that a mistake's never made. That's not to say that, maybe we shouldn't handle a situation here and there a little bit differently. We're human as well.
Right.
But I think the goal when people go to work each and every day is to serve the community, protect the community, and do everything they can to make sure that we're all just living a happy life.
Right. And you have daughters.
Yes.
So it has to scare the shit out of you sometimes.
Yeah, it does. So my oldest is 21 and my youngest is 15. And my oldest is in a relationship now. Um, Not married, but dating for quite a while. He seems to be a pretty good guy. So he's good so far. No, we like him. We'll keep him for now. Um,
She's
but
going to appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah. But no, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't, worry and,
Yeah.
who they're gonna date or who they're gonna see, and are they going through something that I don't know about?
Right. 'Cause
Um,
they would definitely be afraid to open up
yeah,
to probably you
sure,
or your
yeah,
wife about any issue, because they know
yeah,
that it would be an issue in your
yeah,
house.
absolutely. And my wife and I try to be very open and honest with our children. We always have been. Um, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't, they didn't worry about certain things with, me being in law enforcement. Um, s- uh, but I mean, we try to, and my wife is incredible with my daughters as far
Yeah.
as, the relationship they have, and just they'll go to her with everything,
Yeah.
talk to her about anything. Some things I don't want to talk about.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
I understand.
But no, I mean, we have a good family dynamic. That's not to say, and I always say too, there's no family out there that's perfect.
Right.
If you believe that this family's perfect out there, they're covering up something.
Something.
It's just not reality.
Yeah.
And that doesn't kind of going back. I mean, it's okay for uh, spouses or a boyfriend girl to argue,
Right.
to have a disagreement. That's okay. That's not domestic violence
Right.
necessarily.
You're gonna argue occasionally. Yeah.
Absolutely. How you go about it and how you handle it and how you address it. But yeah, I definitely worry about my girls, and I always will, whether they're in a spectacular relationship or not.
Yeah.
I worry about them every day for
Yeah. For sure. And that's just I we were talking earlier about how just the world is so different now.
Mhm,
And so it's not just it's like the worry changes with every stage
mhm,
of your children's life. For you, it's like, they're little, you're worried about them
yeah,
choking on something or whatever, but
yeah,
then it gets to the bigger
yeah,
shit. But eventually it's like I think that them growing up in your home and seeing what you've been dealing with and the stress that you have daily with what's going on in our community, it probably does make them more aware of their surroundings, more aware of red flags, all those things. So I mean, I feel grateful that I grew up with a lot of my friends who their dads were in law enforcement or their mom, whatever, and I feel like I saw them bring that stress home. And so it does make you a little bit more, aware of your surroundings
yeah.
or looking for, something that might be a little off with the relationship.
Yeah, and um I was open with my daughters about my childhood. I'm not at a young age. I waited till they were
Sure.
older, obviously, but they're aware. Um, and again, we try to communicate with them on, and whether it be domestic violence, just to be aware of your surroundings, like what
Yeah.
you're if you're out in a parking lot, if you're at the grocery store, at the mall,
Right.
whatever it might be. So we've always tried to educate them in that regard. And then in terms of like my job, I've never, unfortunately, some people think that there's not a lot that goes on in this community. There is, so officers see a lot of stuff. They
Yeah.
deal with a lot of death and violence, and we unfortunately, obviously, as the community is too familiar with, we've had officers killed line of duty,
Yeah.
here recently in recent years, over the last 12, 13 years. And, so we see a lot of stuff, we deal with a lot of stuff, and I don't bring all that home. But I would be lying if I said that it doesn't some of that stuff doesn't stick with me, it doesn't remain with me, I don't think about it. You just kinda learn how to compartmentalize it. And it's great to be able to have a group of people you work with that
Hmm.
have gone through it too, that you
They
can reach out to and
understand.
talk to. And even counseling, like that's kind of a thing that, a lot of people, oh, I don't want to go talk to anybody, that I think that's okay.
I think it's the norm now
Yeah,
lately.
there's nothing wrong with going to speak to a professional.
Yeah.
It may not be for everyone. Maybe it's a pastor for some people, whatever it might be. There's different options, of course, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Don't be afraid to communicate. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
That's where I wanna be with this whole thing, is I feel like just by talking to you about it and making it more of a public thing, I feel like it's our job as a community to put light on it and how it can be prevented, but also just ways to, make everyone feel a little bit safer. But obviously, with the domestic violence thing, um, you know, there's so much more to you and to your role as sheriff
Mhm.
and everything else. And we'll talk about it another time. But
Yeah.
I do feel like right now, there's so many people dealing with it directly at this time. And some of these people you need them to be held accountable. And I know that there's so many laws in place, but also a lot of them can kind of skate through or depends on a situation or whatever. But I feel like, especially on social media,
Mhm.
when these situations are public and they happen like just, last week or whatever, people have so much to say about it on social media. And it's like, well, he skated through this, he skated through this, he
Mhm.
skated through this. And so it's like, I feel like with having a platform, I was easily able to get attention to the problem that
Mhm.
I was having.
Mhm.
Most women don't have that.
Mhm.
And most women don't have a support system
Mhm.
where they could reach out easily
Mhm.
and get help and support that they need. So, do you think that CODA is a good place for them to maybe start if they're like trying to make a step
Yeah,
toward getting help?
I do. And there are people that say bad things about the sheriff's office and good things about the sheriff's office. Coda's the same way.
Yep.
Union Hospital. Again,
Everything.
every business, every organization doesn't matter. But yes, it's definitely Coda may not be for everyone,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely a good starting point, I think, to reach out and see what they have to offer and advice they can provide and resources they can provide. So I absolutely think it's a good
Do you
starting
have
point.
any other thoughts on any other resources here locally that might be helpful for like a situation if someone was trying to get out? I just didn't know if any other public places that, we haven't really talked about anything else like
Yeah,
that.
I don't.
Yeah. So maybe just use that as a first step
Yes,
and see
yeah,
what can
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
I wish that women had the confidence, not just women.
Right.
Not, I mean, there's so many. I have clients that don't speak to their parents because of growing up like that.
Mhm.
It's not a spousal situation, it's not a boyfriend, girlfriend, it's a parent. I wish people had the confidence to just know that they are worth more.
Yeah.
And that, I know it's easy for us to say, like, it'll be better in the end.
When as you're saying that, I was kind of thinking along those lines earlier that you know it can get better. And and again, I revert back to how I was feeling, many years ago, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, is this what
This
life
is
is?"
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here I am, 35 years later, and I'm the sheriff of Eagle County.
Right.
And I'm very proud of that. That's not to say there haven't been good sheriffs before me. And good sheriffs won't follow me. But I'm proud of where I am today, and I haven't got here by myself. I can promise you that I've got here with the support of everyone that works with me, the support of my family. My mom is like the best mom ever
Oh,
anyone could ever have. My sister is an incredible woman. Married, raised a family. So we've made it on the other end.
right.
It didn't happen overnight. We went through some struggles for sure. But here we are. It can improve. It can get better if you're just willing to take one day at a time.
One day at a time. I appreciate that. Yeah. And that's coming from real life experience.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is if you have lived it, then you can speak better to it.
Right.
But also having other people that are supporting you that even though they may have never been through it, they understand that they haven't been through it. They
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
until they're in your shoes. That's one reason why I'm doing this is I
Yeah.
just want people to know, that there is better out there. There's also support,
Yeah.
and use your friendships, use your relationships at work and get that support that you need. When is your election?
So the primary is in May of
Mm,
2026. Yeah. May of 2026. And then, whoever
yeah.
wins the primary, obviously the general election's in November of 2026.
I feel like Terre Haute, regardless of some of the stuff that's been happening with these bigger stories, I feel like it's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going in a good direction, don't you? I mean, do you feel I feel like we're confident in
I,
like
I do. And, I'm the current leader of the sheriff's office, and again, I take great pride in that, and I always have and always will. But the sheriff's office is going to go on. We've been here for many years, and it's going to continue. But again, going back to what I said before, it's not about one person. Whether you're the police chief or the sheriff or the mayor or the governor, it doesn't matter. You have to have people around you that are doing the job each and every day, and that are enjoying the job that they do. And again, that doesn't mean that again our guys, men and women don't make mistakes, or I make mistakes, or city police officers make mistakes. It happens. We are human. But we can't do this. It doesn't take one person. The cases I've solved as a detective, it was always a pet peeve of mine when people say, "Oh, you needed this person or that person to help," or I'd take 150 people to help solve a
right.
case. I care less. It's not about me or that any individual one person's success is a team effort. And I think as long as you have that mindset, you can accomplish great things.
I agree with that completely. Thank you for coming in. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Um, I want to do more of this too. I want to do a lot more partnerships in
Mhm.
the community. I just feel like it's something like you said, it's always been something you didn't want to talk about. Um, and I think it needs to be talked about
Mhm.
because we are having these major things happen. People are losing their lives. People don't know how to, they don't know where to start. They don't know
Yeah.
how to get help. And I think that people are scared. So the more we talk about it, and also I wanted people to know how relatable you are.
Mhm.
And you guys do such a good job at building these relationships. I mean, you and I did not know each other at
Right.
all before
Yeah.
everything kind of started going silly, way back.
Right.
And, I've learned how much support I have from your entire department.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys do a really good job. And I really appreciate, what you're trying to do for the community. You only do so much, but
But we just have to put our shoes on and do it every day and
mhm.
not quit. Just
Yeah.
every day.
Like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. You're watching Pretty Real with Cece.